Cowboys play the Chargers.
Yeah, they do.
On Monday Night Football. It is going to be the reunion of seeing Kellen Moore for the first time since they mutually parted ways.
Oh, is that what it was?
They mutually parted ways. They said this is for the best because Mike McCarthy was going to take over play calling duties because Kellen Moore did the same thing but slightly better than Mike McCarthy. Because, I mean, have you seen much of a difference?
Not entirely. I mean, they do commit to the run a little bit more, but it's not a huge, massive difference.
Yeah, it's not the thing. It doesn't seem like a massive difference in game plan or – I mean, you're using CeeDee Lamb less.
Yeah. True.
That's something bad about it.
The red zone issues are alarming as well. They do have a terrible percentage in the red zone.
Yeah. But that's there. It just doesn't seem that much. So Kellen Moore, you will go see him with the Chargers. He's going to be driven to show what he can do and get this offense rolling the way he wants to get it rolling. I think that the Chargers are at a point where they need to go. And really, the only reason that this is not a thing where you go, oh yeah, the Chargers can beat the Cowboys. They're kind of down right now, and this is a Chargers game, is because the Chargers also have a terrible head coach and a worse coach than Mike McCarthy.
I would agree.
Brandon Staley is definitely much worse than Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is not a terrible coach. He's a terrible coach if you want to win a Super Bowl. Like he's just like he can get you to this point, and then you're like, okay, well now we need someone else because you're clearly not getting us over the hump.
I would argue we're just in the wrong era for Mike.
That too, but that's part of it. You have to evolve. Brandon Staley just never evolved. I mean, he's just still going to do whatever I want. So Brandon Staley is, you believe that he's going to sit out there and Kellen Moore will tell him, I know everything they're about to do. And I can tell you exactly what plays they will run and when they will run them and how. And I can tell you with the play call, and I can tell you all that. And Brandon
I can
Staley
tell you what throws Dak can't make.
Yeah, but I can tell you what I can tell you what Dak's doing. I know him inside and out. We can do this. And then and Brandon Staley will be like, let's just run our defense.
There you go.
You know what? I think if we just stick our guys out there, we'll win. It's like, come on, man.
Thanks, Kellen. Go conduct the offense.
Feels like Brandon Staley. So, I don't know. The Cowboys are 2-point favorites going into L.A. It's going to be a lot of Cowboys fans there, I'm assuming. That is one of those buildings at SoFi that the Chargers have never really gotten to be a home field advantage.
I know, isn't that weird?
It's not because they moved from San Diego to a team that already had another team and it's not there. It's like the Clippers, where until you're really good, you're not going to have a home court advantage. The Clippers never did at that's why they're building their own building. So they can say we have our team. They're in the Rams' home.
Yeah,
the Rams won a Super Bowl a couple years ago. That's a Rams town.
Yeah. And
they're trying to go in, and it's a Raiders town. Because that's cooler uniforms,
right?
And the Chargers,
right?
So yeah, they can't. But Dallas has fans out there. Dallas fans will travel out there, so it won't be a full home field advantage for the Chargers either. But it's going to be difficult for the Cowboys just because if Brandon Staley listens to Kellen Moore, then I think they will be able to have a pretty good game plan against this Cowboys offense. And if you know all of Dak's flaws and you know how to say, this is all the stuff Dak does, and I can tell you how he looks off players, and I can tell you how it's like we can know, and I can tell you by his step back where he's going. Kellen knows all that. And so if they attack those types of things, this could be another difficult game for Dak and one that does not make him look good at all.
We'll see. Because
I'm not saying it will 100% be because Brandon Staley may be an idiot.
Yeah, part is very much true.
And I mean, they maybe come out and go, okay, we have to do everything new that Kellen Moore has never seen. I don't think they would, but but this is going to be a big one of, we've got everybody coming out and saying that Dak is the worst quarterback who's probably, I mean, there's newborn babies that would be a better quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys than Dak Prescott. What we're hearing.
Man.
As a Cowboys fan, because I'm not a Cowboys fan, it's frustrating just covering the Cowboys because they don't seem to want to make moves. And I'm not the biggest, get rid of Dak. I don't think Dak is ever going to be he's not a elite quarterback that's going to lead you to a Super Bowl. But you can win a Super Bowl if you're a defensive first team, you run the ball, and you use him in the right scenarios. Then I think Dak's perfectly capable of being a low turnover quarterback that you're able to win with. But if you were trying to make him make plays, his turnovers are going to go up, which is going to really render his abilities down.
Yeah, and what did our good friend Jerry tell us about him?
When something tells you what it is, don't try to dream that it's something else.
Exactly. Don't try to dream that it's something else. And Dak has been telling us what he is for quite a while now. His only decent season, 2016, the season he was drafted. What's the key variable there from the rest of them? Tony Romo's still on the sidelines. Tony Romo can still talk to him up until 15 seconds left on the play clock. They were 13-3 that season. They lost to the Packers in the playoffs, sure. But Dak's turnover-worthy play rate was 2.4% that year based on Pro Football Focus's numbers. He had 5 picks. His average time to throw was 2.86 seconds. Now, the average amount of time in an NFL pocket is 4.29 seconds. So he's not getting rushed. He's getting the ball out, and it's decisive. That's great. Now move on to 2017 and beyond without Tony Romo. In 2017, they were 9-7 in the regular season, missed the playoffs. Immediate regression. Turnover-worthy plays, 2.8% again. His picks were 13. He doubled his picks and then some. Average time to throw, 2.8 seconds. Still the same there. That means he's confidently throwing the football into trouble. Is that because Tony Romo's not telling him what the coverage is pre-snap? I don't know. Let's jump forward a little bit. 2019, Kellen Moore named the offensive coordinator, right? They're going to have this big, high-octane, explosive offense. Dak had some of his best offensive numbers. They were 8-8 that season, missed the playoffs. Turnover-worthy plays for Dak, 3.2%. We're still going up in that category. His picks, you guessed it, 11. Double digits again. Time to throw, 2.8 seconds. Still very confidently throwing into trouble. So Dak is telling you what he is, and he has been doing it for a long time. And unfortunately, there's not a way out of it. Dak is going to cost the Cowboys $60 million if they try to move on from him because his contract is set to end next year. I don't know what Cowboy fans do from here, but if you're Jerry, you have to start preparing for the future, and I don't think Trey Lance is that future.
I think Trey Lance is a better option that if you want to have somebody that you can at least try. Because again, if we look at in the reality of how to find a quarterback, when you look at other quarterbacks, we talked about this on the show earlier this week of who else is out there and how many teams actually have a quarterback and how many teams you're saying at worst, Dak Prescott is the 20th quarterback in the league. And he's probably better than that. But if you're saying at worst,
I'll go 15.
Yeah, that's what I say. I put him around 15.
Yeah.
But we'll say at worst, he's 20th, which means at the best league in the sport, he's the 20th best quarterback in the best league in football. There's not 30 guys better than him out there that you can go get and the Cowboys can bring in. Now you can try and get other rookies. You can try and get guys and see if you can coach them up. The problem is you don't have a coach who coaches up players. You brought in a coach who doesn't make players better. He tries to coach players that are already there. Now Dan Quinn tries to make players better.
I agree.
But I don't think Mike McCarthy is a make players better coach. He's not a player development coach.
No, and that's part of why they need to be urgent with this, because and I know Jerry, if he doesn't do the right thing and give this job to Dan at the end of this season, no matter the outcome, honestly, Dan's gone. He's going to get hired somewhere else. He will be gone. And we have a bunch of contracts coming up. How long can they keep this great team around Dak in place and hope that he just kind of figures it out one day?
Well, no, and I mean, if you see the stuff of like the CeeDee Lamb thing where they said, do you want to get CeeDee Lamb the ball more? And he says, no, I want to get everybody equal targets. If I'm CeeDee Lamb, I'm like, cool, trade me.
Yeah.
Like
he's already doing that on the field.
Yeah, if we're doing bad, you're not giving me the ball, and you want to say you're going to throw the ball to Michael Gallup as many times you want to throw it to me,
right?
Then I don't want to be here. Send me to a team that's going to respect me.
Right, and you see his body language on the field reflecting that. He is very displeased.
It's like, I get it. And this is the thing I always tell anybody about wide receivers, because I get their divas and their prima donnas and all that, and all the diva stuff. Play Madden and just as a wide receiver. And see how long it takes you to get super mad that the quarterback's not throwing you the ball.
Yeah.
Just when you're like, no, I was open. He got sacked again.
Right.
Like, just see how angry you get playing a video game. And then imagine you worked your whole life, and every time that happens, you're like, well, that's $3 million I'm never going to see. And that's on my contract, and that's another cut. That's a payment incentive that I'm going to lose because they're not giving me the ball. And then when they're calling plays and you're like, I'm option 4 on this play.
Speaking of which, he's going to be asking for more money very soon.
He is, but that's why I don't think he wants to throw him the ball.
Right.
Because he wants to harden up hardball with the negotiation, which, again, probably not.
I don't know if Dak's cerebral enough to.
I don't think Dak's doing it. I think Jerry Jones is, because if we know one thing about Mike McCarthy is Mike McCarthy is a company man, and Mike McCarthy is doing everything Jerry did. Like, Kellen Moore didn't use Kevontae Turpin.
Right.
Jerry Jones signed him to a 4-year deal. Now, not for a lot of money, but he signed him to a 4-year deal. he wanted Kevontae Turpin to be a part of this offense and be somebody who was electric. And Kellen Moore didn't want to use him.
Yeah.
He said, I don't trust him in these systems. He doesn't do whatever for whatever reason. And Mike McCarthy is using him, and he's working in certain situations. The problem is you also drafted Deuce Vaughn, and that's the same kind of player. And Deuce Vaughn can't do anything else yet because he's young. It's going to take him a little while to get used to how to play.
Cheap.
He is, but the problem with Deuce Vaughn is you have to keep him on your active roster because if you cut him, someone else will pick him up to use him as an auxiliary player.
Yeah.
So you can't cut him and put him on your practice squad because someone else will pick him up. So he's a roster spot that you can't play. Like Trey Lance is a roster spot you can't play. And when you're on a team that needs some help and it needs more depth, and you are now have a running back and a quarterback that are just taking up roster spots on your roster, you can't cut either one or they'll get picked up. It's just another part of the formula that leads you to this team is not better than they were last year.
No.
They're a step back from where they were last year.
Yeah.
And you were hoping that everything would go, okay, Mike McCarthy is going to change things in a positive way, and nothing really changed. He's just placating a little bit more.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up last year because I want to give you the same numbers I was tracking for last season, which, by the way, we just agreed we've taken a regression from, right? 12-5 regular season, lost to the Niners in the playoffs. Everybody knows that. No one's questioning whether or not Dak can get you 12 wins in the regular season.
Yeah.
What we are questioning is turnover-worthy play rate, 3.8%, still climbing. INTs, 17. Co-led the league with Josh Allen. Average time to throw, 2.7. Still very confident about it.
If you want to have this big O-line that's finally back, I get Dak gets the ball out quick because they run a lot of quick game.
Yeah.
But if you're saying he's throwing picks in the quick game.
Right, because defenses know he's going to fire it on his first read.
And they know he's watching one player. And
right.
like I was having this conversation about he's looking down at his receiver. And you go, a lot of times they're not even looking down the receiver. They're looking at whoever. They're looking at the linebacker or
they're looking
safety,
at the read.
And they're looking at the read.
Yes.
And that's all they're doing. And so that guy knows.
Let me slide over here.
Let me just take 2 steps. And if these wide receivers don't get far enough apart,
yeah,
I can still go back and make a play. And everybody else who he's not even looking at is realizing, oh, he's looking at that guy.
Well, and they know in the huddle now. They know in the huddle now. The play gets called, and the receivers that aren't the play, they go, oh, okay, here we go.
So it's just there's a lot of not buy-in right now, especially in the receiver core, because you see it. And then the red zone. When you go back and watch red zone possession for the Cowboys,
it's
the
brutal.
amount of times that Dak turns and looks right and the left side of the play doesn't do anything,
yes,
is mind-boggling for the type of players that are there. That you're like, man, Brandon Cooks was doing that for the Texans. He was still doing stuff.
Right.
And they sucked.
They had nobody.
And he was still filling the play out. So, I mean, how pissed does he have to be to not trust him? What's the communication and where is it at? Because that's where I think the problem is. The problem I have for the Cowboys is I'm the practical. If we're trying to win a Super Bowl and we're actually trying to go for it, Mike McCarthy clearly is not going to get us there. He is clearly a worse coach. We are clearly a worse time than we were last year. He's not the answer.
No.
So we have to have someone else. I don't know who's out there that you're able to pick up that's going to be this great offensive mind that's going to be able to get you that next step. That's the problem is I don't know if you fire Mike McCarthy, there's a better solution out there.
You just need someone that can reach Dak a little bit better because I think that's part of the issue there is and I think
they feel excited to play football again.
Right, and I think the relationship with Kellen, I think Kellen's brilliant offensively. I just think he couldn't reach Dak because they knew each other too well. There was no work relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. I think we've worked ourselves up enough about the Cowboys.
And with that said, I'm picking the Cowboys -2. The Cowboys are going to stomp the Chargers, by the way, on Monday night.
I know. I'm picking the Cowboys too. I kind of want the Chargers to win just to watch it all go down the hill. But like the morbid part of my brain just says like, you know what? Let's just see. I want to see how far Jerry Jones can go down this path of saying things like,
when something tells you what it is, don't try to dream that it's something else.
We know what he is, Jerry. We know what he is.
If you drop one more game before the Eagles game,
yeah,
and then you're probably going to lose the Eagles game.
Yeah,
but that's post trade deadline, by the way. So that's post any other moves you can really make, player personnel wise.
I know.
So if you get there and now you're like, okay, crap, we may not make the playoffs. What do you do with that? Like, do you just suck it up and just take it on the L that we screwed it up and go out there and fight because we want to get the dollars in?
No, they're going to do what the Cowboys do. They're going to make the playoffs. And that's
just squeeze in the back end.
They're going to make the playoffs.
I'm picking them this week. I'll pick them.
The book is out on Dak.
Also, we know we're bad at picking, so not good for the Cowboys.
Yeah, last week was not hot for us.